Let's Talk Diz, a show that gives you everything you need to know to help make your Disney vacation as magical as can be in just about 20 minutes. I'm your host, Jeff Gopiello. With me each week is Disney Master Sandy from BZ Diz by Instant Impressions Travel Services. Sandy, how are you doing this week?
I am awesome. I am on property, and I saw new shows, and we all know I'm all about the entertainment.
Well, you know, a couple weeks ago, we had talked about what this summer was going to be, and we laid out that we had a couple of shows going. You went to Hollywood Studios today, and we're going to talk about the two shows that really dropped today, right?
They did. And I was actually a little surprised that they opened them both on the same exact day. It somehow didn't help the crowds dissipate, or they're going to tell me it did, and that's a scary thought, too.
I can't imagine it did, right? Especially as Florida schools are probably out or getting out at this point right about now. So like I said, we're at Hollywood Studios. The first one let's talk about is that Disney Villains Unfairly Ever After, because that's brand new. We're getting something brand new there. So I'd like to hear what your thoughts were about that.
I'd love to. So just a little bit of history to find it and where it is. It is just past Rock and Roller Coaster. Previously, from March of 2019 through October of 24, it was the Lightning McQueen Racing Academy.
Right.
And before that, it did a Halloween show for a little bit. It did Mickey's Roadster Racers. When they made it Mickey's Roadster Racers, it was property that was backstage that they kind of claimed on stage. And so you really have to be looking for it and know it's back there. You kind of get to Rock and Roller Coaster and you think you're at the end.
Right.
But then it kind of keeps going. And I have to say, I was really impressed with this show. I'm not a huge Villains fan. I'm not a fan, but I'm not a diehard Villains person like many that I saw there today.
Right.
But there's a definite need for it, and they did a phenomenal job. And one of the biggest things from the minute I walked in is I was like, oh, thank God they made this an actual theater. Because when it was Lightning McQueen's Racing Academy, it was about 36 backless benches on little angles through the theater. And now it's actual auditorium theater seating. So it's definitely more comfortable to sit in, but it also helps because they are counting how many people can go in. It's not a question of do 5 people fit on this bench or 8 people fit on this bench.
Yeah.
You know, 1 person per seat. And again, it's opening day, so I don't want to scare anybody off, but the line was long.
Well, it's a new experience, right? I mean,
but because of that, they can do the counter and they know, this is the 2:00 show and this is the 2:30. There's no guessing how many people are going to get in, which is really nice.
Got it. So how long is the runtime on a show like this?
It's a 17-minute show. They try to fill the theater pretty quickly. It does not have an indoor pre-show holding area. So when the doors open, you're going in. For today, and again, this is the end of Memorial Day weekend, I would say probably through about 4th of July, you're going to see some long lines. Mm-hmm. They've got an area that is the next group to go in. Then they've got a small area before that that's going to be 2 shows away, and a little bit of a line queue for that second show. I think they were surprised today, but they were prepared that it went over that, and they had to go to like an overflow area. So it was definitely many people waited through 3 shows. And although the show is a 17-minute show, it is on a regular schedule. So it's 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. on the half hour and hour.
Okay. So it's every 30.
Every 30 minutes. Except oddly, it then is 6 and 7 without the half hours.
Got it. So they give those fine performers a nice break between the 6 o'clock show and the 7 o'clock show. Got it.
If I had to guess, And if you've got little ears in the room, please cover them. I'm going to guess that they're working with 2 full casts.
Yeah, I would have to imagine that's the case.
And so people need to go home.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and
I think
it's also
that's it.
there's
First crew leaves before the end of the day.
well, and I was going to say there's also equity stuff that's going on there too, right? So you're
Well, that's definitely equity stuff on stage, and that's why I say I think it's 2 full equity casts.
so your takeaway from it was what then at the end of the day?
I loved it. They brought out a lot of the different villains, and the premise was, as its name, Unfairly Ever After, that nobody's really fair to the villains and they get a really bad rap.
For sure.
So we see a lot of different villains minimally, and then some much bigger. The Evil Queen, Cruella, and Captain Hook are really featured, even though we see probably about 20 villains in the course of the show. The others are through video projection, but those 3 are that live equity that we were just talking about.
Right.
And one of the things that I think is really neat about it is about 3 minutes before the end, they ask the audience by applause and cheers to vote on which villain is the most unfairly treated.
Okay.
And based on the winner determines the last 3 minutes of the show.
Oh, that's
so there
cool.
are 3 different endings to this show.
That's fun. That makes it unique each time.
It makes it unique each time, but it also does not guarantee that if you do the show 3 times in a row, you will see all 3 endings. So keep that in mind.
No, you might see the same one 3 times.
You might see the same one 3 times.
Interesting.
Definitely, they don't do as good a job because this has the show times of having, what the wait time is. And as I said, it's really kind of out there. There's no way you're walking past this. But it wasn't too bad when I got there. When I left, it exceeded the overflow area.
Oh, wow.
So if you're past the overflow area, I will tell you that you're maybe 3, possibly 4 shows away.
Yikes.
As great a show as I think it was, I wouldn't stay. I'd come back at another time.
That's a silly long time. I mean,
that's a silly long time. There is a great PhotoPass photographer there with a great photo op that they've set up. You can see kind of leading up to it, they have some great villains. And while this location itself doesn't have a gift shop, boo-hoo.
Right. Not yet anyway.
They did conveniently, across from Rock and Roller Coaster, take a cart and convert it to an all villains cart.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So if you're looking for a water bottle, an ornament, a shirt, they've got the villains covered. And again, being opening day of a show, you get those that are kind of diehards on the subject. And it was great to see all the villain t-shirts that you don't usually see and everybody out in their villain clothes. As much as this show is villain focused, I would say it had under a minute, and not all at one time, of scary scenes. So if you've got a child who's watched those movies and doesn't, freak at some of those darker scenes or some of those really funny kind of laughs, I think you'll be fine. And again, it was a really well executed show. Definitely not worth the 4-show wait, but another time in the day, make sure you catch it.
Very cool. All right, and just for our notes too, over just past Rock and Roller Coaster, right? Because I know we had said on a couple shows we thought it was going where the Frozen show is. That's not the case. I just want to correct
that is not
that
the
information.
case.
Okay, cool. So the other thing that opened today was The Little Mermaid, a musical adventure, one of the theaters that has been essentially dark for a long time. We get a reimagining of it of sorts, correct?
Correct. And again, the villain show is brand new. The Little Mermaid show has been there forever, but this is a reboot.
Right.
And as you said, it's been dark since it closed for COVID, and it just came back today. And very different. If you were a fan of those glow in the dark marionettes, they're gone. I'll tell you that right now.
Oh man, everybody's crying over that.
It's funny when you look at different shows and how they do things. Again, we just talked about the Villains that has a very set schedule. The Frozen sing along has a very set schedule. Beauty and the Beast, set schedule. This one doesn't have a schedule.
Huh.
It runs continuously. And I guess it's based on the fact that maybe they have more trouble clearing the theater than other theaters. I can't quite figure out why. They know roughly when the next show is going to be each time, but it doesn't show in the app as the same kind of, this is the time. It
Right
shows
on
right
the 30s.
now
Right. Yeah.
that it opens at 9:15, so slightly after regular park hours. This is not open during that resort guest only time. But again, if either of those shows, I wouldn't necessarily say the Villain since it doesn't start till 10. But if Little Mermaid is your be all and end all, get there with those early hours for on-site guests one of your days and make that your first thing. Again, it is new, but I do think that princesses tend to be more popular than villains. This is an area that you're going to walk by often. It's across from the animation courtyard. It's on your way to Toy Story, and people will end up getting on this line. Again, I look at the app. I know Jeff hates being on his phone while he's there, but
it's helpful. It's helpful.
It can make a difference. When I arrived, it said 90 minutes. So I was like, all right, we'll go to Villains first. When I ended up getting online, it said 60 minutes. Keep in mind, normally they overestimate, but it's not perfect. When I left, it said it was 80 minutes, but the line was not nearly as long as it was when it said 60.
Interesting.
So sometimes the times are not perfect. What I will say with any of the shows that makes it very different than any of the rides, something for you to think about. If you miss the show time, nobody loads for the next 20 to 30 minutes.
Right.
Unlike all the other rides where the line is constantly moving, once the line stops because they filled the theater, that's it till the next show time.
Yeah, you're standing there. Yeah.
You're standing.
Yeah.
And Little Mermaid is very well shaded. They tried hard with lots of umbrellas for the Disney Villains show. I don't know if it was not enough umbrellas, not the right angles, but it was melty out there today.
So for Mermaid though, you said that
I was going to say, so let's get back to
they're
Mermaid.
not-
I digress.
they're not running on the 30-minute, timing. The runtime is
19 minutes.
okay. So it's not too different from what Villains is, right? But is it? You mentioned that we get projections and we get live action for Villains. What about for Little Mermaid? Where do we land with that?
All of the above as well, but done a little bit differently. There are Ariel is live, Eric is live, Max is live. How could you not have a live dog?
Right, of course.
And then it's done with really giant video projection. And
Okay.
even though there are no 3D glasses, they did a great job with you feeling like it was 3D. There was somebody behind me doing a running commentary through the whole show.
Oh, great. That's lovely.
I have to check my video to see if it's going to even be usable for our YouTube channel.
Right.
But as soon as we walked in, he said to his friends, I feel like I'm under the ocean. It's in surround. And they really did carry that water onto the walls through projection, not just paint and color. So you do get sucked in quickly. I will say one of the other things, because of the time of year that it is as well, thankfully it is both shows highly air conditioned theater. And when you walk in, I think you get that feeling of being underwater, but you get that coolness that makes you think you're underwater
Right.
because you go from outside where it's 100 degrees to the nice 60 some odd. They worked hard on the effects. I will say I didn't love this as much as the old one. I didn't love it as much as the villain show. But again, I'm also looking at it with a different eye. So I think those of you that are going with teens versus young children, it may be a bigger hit. One thing that really struck me multiple times in this show is I thought to myself, kind of funny, but the Little Mermaid show has more scary scenes than the villain show.
Huh. That's
More
very surprising.
minutes of darkness and cracking of lightning and Ursula being that larger than life. And maybe because Ursula, is done in that big effect. And even at one point, they had her like full height from the stage to the ceiling.
Sure.
Where in the villain show, the key villains were live humans. So they didn't have that huge size scope.
That makes sense. I mean,
but it is an awesome spot to get out of the heat or the rain because it is Florida in the summer.
What about the timing that it runs? Because you mentioned 10 to 5 on the 30s for the villains. With shows at 6 and 7. Do we have an idea of when
this
the
one
show
starts
ends?
at 9:15. It runs till 7:15 at night.
Okay.
This one does have a pre-show area that offers absolutely nothing but an area. So you'll come in from outside and be inside in the shade in the AC, and then the doors will open and you'll go in. So when you think you've kind of made it from the line and you're headed inside, you're headed into a holding room.
Which is, a change of scenery. It's not the worst thing in the world.
Change of scenery, one step closer. You've got about 22 minutes at that point. But again, especially now with both of these shows, not to get too personal, but go to the bathroom first with your little kids.
Yeah, definitely.
You're going to be online, between the line and the shows, an hour to an hour and a half, an hour and 45 minutes. It can be a long time. At the moment, neither show is on single pass or multi-pass.
That was going to be my question. So you hit that. Okay.
The tough thing with shows is if you are on a DAS pass, and if you're on one, you're on one, you're not really saving anything because the show starts when the show starts.
Right.
So it's not like you're coming back and you don't have to wait because till they open the theater, you can't get in.
Got it. Okay.
So, pack your patience for the shows. And I think that's the case in the shows everywhere, even when we talk about shows in Animal Kingdom. The theaters in Animal Kingdom are much bigger than the 2 theaters that I'm talking about here. But again, once they load that theater, nobody moves for the next 20 minutes. So it makes it a little bit harder. But they're both worth a watch at least once. The villains one, I'd be more inclined personally to see multiple times than I would the Little Mermaid one. I will say, and we'll put some pictures up on social. They did a great job with the musical score on Little Mermaid, and they do have the Under the Sea song has great neon lighting effects that just light the place up, and it's gorgeous. So definitely worth your time to check it out at least once.
Well, and what I'll say too, what I love about the fact that they're both there is that the origins of this park were all about the story, right? They were all about the movies. And so like you're getting a chance to see these characters from these films, on stage, which I think was a big part of what that park originally was. So the nostalgia in me is excited that those two experiences are now here. So I like that.
They are. And I think, as I said, I think they're working really hard to balance family things and the number of people that come as
Sure.
adults only. And bridal parties and bachelorette parties and college graduations that,
Yeah, you're getting
yes,
all of it.
Disney is for the kids at heart, but that villains show, everybody, princess, princess, princess. But there are people who are all about the villains, and ask them their favorite character. They're all villains.
Yeah, that's cool.
So it's a great way to balance things.
All right, so before we say goodbye today, is there anything else that you would want to cover?
I have an exciting announcement that I have been waiting for, and I've spoken about my lack of patience before.
Okay.
But they finally announced today, summer of 2025, Disney Starlight, the nighttime light parade in Magic Kingdom, will premiere Sunday night, July 20th.
Got it. So you already have everything booked. You will be there on Sunday, July 20th. Is that what we have to take away from that? You might stay there until then, camp out, get your spot.
About 20 minutes before we started recording.
Nice.
I was able to grab my flights and a room over at Riviera. So yes.
We're all shocked. We're all shocked by that. Well, that's cool.
I am ready to roll.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time. I know you're on property. Been a long day for you. So as we say goodnight, I hope you get to relax a little bit, and we will speak to you next week.
Thanks for chatting.
And that's a wrap this week on Let's Talk Diz. If anyone you know could benefit from this or any show, please share, have them like, and subscribe. And don't forget to reach out to the folks at Easy Diz by Instant Impressions Travel Services for any Disney destination planning. Make it a great week. And as always, keep making memories.